Okay, I'm going to start the meeting now. I open the meeting of our May 18th, 2016 Porteous meeting at the Triangle Lake School Library. The reason we are up here is because these are some of our taxpayers, so we thought we'd hold a series of meetings out in with our other tax base. Let's see, item number 2, public comments. Seeing no one present, there will be no public comments tonight. Item number 3, approval of the minutes. Anybody have any problems with the minutes? We're no longer formally approving them, are we?
No.
Okay. Item 4, financial statement. Everybody have a chance to look that over? Looks like we're on the right track, best I can see.
I've got a couple comments for you.
Certainly.
So we'll start with the balance sheet. We have with our total assets, current assets are $489,000, and last month they were $534,000. So difference of around $50,000. The reason for this is because we are spending some more money, and our income for this month was $54,000 compared to our expenses of $103,000. So our expenses very much outweighed the income, and so we are using some of the cash on hand to do some of these large payments, and some of these projects that we had that we're starting this month are a result of the resolution you passed in the previous month for like, for example, the restroom. We're starting to order some of the parts for the restroom remodel. Zero erosion project that we spent over $6,000 there. Ahmed and Sweeney did some work on our fire suppression system to the amount of around $3,000. We did pay our wharf lease for Department of State Lands. That was $11,000, and we paid $23,000 for the floating restroom refurbish. So that $23,000 is reimbursable by the Oregon State Marine Board. So moving on to the profit and loss budget variance report. Again, as I said last month, when you look at the income amounts, negative numbers are good. That means we have exceeded budget projected for our revenue. And as we look to our expenditures, personnel services, it doesn't show the percentages on this report, but I run another detailed report for my benefit, so I'll just tell you briefly that we are, for personal services, we are 91.4% of budget. And for materials and services, that's getting real close, and we're watching that real carefully with some of this with some of these projects that we're working on. We're 99.3% of budget on materials and services. Capital outlay is about 25% of budget, and the reason for that is because the Oregon State Marine Board gave us $125,000 for the floating restroom, and as you can see on page 5, we have only spent $23,000 of that. The floating restroom has arrived, it has been refurbished, and we only have a few more expenses, so we're not going to come even close to the $125,000 that was set aside for us.
We made money.
Well, again, it's a reimbursable grant, so when we pay for something, they reimburse us.
Okay.
So it's not like we have that 125 sitting off to the side. And debt service is right on track with paying the loans. That's right at 99.9% of budget. And I will like to also say that we paid off the no-pole development loan in April.
Good.
So that's one that will be off of the financials in the future. Are there any questions on that one, on that report?
Yeah, it doesn't show it, and I I guess you wouldn't show it, I'm not really sure. I've not seen it done that way, but, so we have 60,000 left and no variance. We really had 100 and we used 40, right?
On the contingency, yes. Yes, 40 of that got transferred into some of those other categories, the contracted services,
Right.
facilities, and capital outlay. Do you want me to keep going?
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
no, I'm fine.
All right.
Yeah.
Good, so next report is the profit and loss previous year comparison. The income amounts, the change from this year compared to last year is about the same as last month. We're about $16,000 ahead of what we were last year for income. And for expenses, our expenses are higher this month, year to date, than we were last year, year to date. But we're still right on track. So then if we go to the occupancy report, that shows that the campground revenue is still tracking a little bit lower than last year at 44% compared to 48% last year. But on the upside, it's 3% higher than it was 2 years ago at 41%. So hopefully we will have a couple of good months moving forward. We got a busy month here in May and with the Roadie Days and the Memorial Day weekend, and hopefully June will be busy as well. Also, mortgage is still up in percentage, 47% compared to 43% last year.
With the reservations for like Roadie Days, Memorial Day coming up, do we go off the roller coaster here now because we've collected probably most of that already?
Right, right.
So
A lot of that money has already been put in the bank when the
Yes.
people made the reservations, especially for Roadie Days, because we request that in full payment.
so say next month we're going to see a decline.
In cash flow, right, revenue is higher, but
That's what I was-
in cash flow, yes. I did want to say one thing, moving back to the previous report. If you, do you have any questions on the occupancy before I move on? Going back to the profit and loss previous year comparison, last month Commissioner Buchwald asked me about the account 4500 levied taxes. So what I have here is a little breakdown of that. That amount is broken down into a couple of different categories. And I have broken them out for you to look at. So the reason that we are less than last year in levy taxes is this account 4515 state forest sales. That last year we got $57,000. This year $4,000. So I called Lane County Finance and spoke with Terry, who works in the office in the tax disbursement office, and asked her about these, this forest sale revenue. How does that work? She says it all depends on logging contracts.
Okay, well, I think we know that, but what I'm curious about, is that suggesting that they offset our levy with that money?
Well, if you look at 4510 current levied taxes, we're still on track. We are $272,000 generated this year, and at this time last year we had collected $263,000. So it affects the bottom line, but
Okay, so really what needs to be done, Dina, is to prevent the confusion, is don't put state forest fees.
in
Don't,
this-
that's not a levy tax.
Okay, right,
Okay,
okay.
we get that from when they log state timber, we get a cut of that because our district has a lot of
O&C
state
lands.
timber. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. So in the old days, we used to get hundreds of thousands of dollars from O&C money.
Uh-huh.
And we don't do it anymore because the state they don't have that many sales, but every time there is a sale, we get a chunk of that. But if you put it in with levied taxes, then yes, it is distorted. When you give me this, yes, I see exactly what that
Right.
is. That's
Okay.
that's a gift. That's pennies from heaven.
Yeah.
That there's no way that we can. I mean, there's no way we can anticipate it.
Just
Right.
keep pushing
Right.
for it.
So if we, in the future, delineate, show those separately, then we'll always be able to have a comparison with our
Right.
levy taxes.
I'll fix that, I'll make those changes.
Okay, this answers the question, that's fine.
Do you have any other discussions on the financial statement? Not, we will move on to item number 5. Public comment for resolution 5-18-16A. You wanna give us a little background on that? That's the seafood seller permits?
Right, so since there is no public comment for this resolution, previous years, we have charged $25 a month for a seafood seller permit, charters, guides, and tour boat operators. Last year was really the first year we enforced it in detail. We really got in touch with the charters and the guides and got them coming into the office to pay the fee. And we just realized after talking to them, once they get into the busy season and the fish are running and they're doing their business, to have them come back every month is inconvenient, and it causes more paperwork and more effort on staff's part to try to catch these guys to come back in and renew their permit for another $25. After talking to Commissioner Huntington and some of the others, we found that some of the other ports and marinas have annual fees, which makes it much easier. And so we are proposing that we change the monthly $25 fee to an annual rate of $100. That way they can come in once at the beginning of the season, pay the $100, get the permit, they're good for the year.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve?
Oh, I'm gonna have to,
Or let's,
I'm gonna have a conflict of interest.
I have a
with this,
conflict of
so
interest.
I'm not gonna be able to vote on it or talk about it.
we still have the 3 of us that can vote on it.
Well, I will make the resolution that will amend the service rates for seafood seller permits and charter tour boat operators. Resolution number 051816A.
So you're making the motion
Yes.
to adopt the
Yes,
resolution?
to adopt that.
Now, this is the first reading, or, oh no, we don't have to do 2 readings, or do we?
Correct, no.
No,
Okay, all right, I guess I'll second it.
okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, okay. It passed. I didn't ask you if you had any comments, Terry.
He declared a conflict.
I declared a conflict. I would like to make a comment.
Yes, good, I want you
Did any one of the commissioners that voted yes for that talk to a guide or a commercial fisherman?
No, I
2.
didn't,
Okay.
I
No.
didn't.
to. No.
Yeah,
I was
that's a-
hoping that if somebody had something, I'm hoping that because we advertise this, I'm hoping that if somebody had some issues with it, that they would bring it to our attention.
In a conflict, I couldn't. I don't think. But it's a moot point.
Well, I
My-
think that you could have talked about it, I don't think you could vote
Yeah,
on it.
no,
I
we're
think
not
that we
gonna
could have
silence
talked
you.
about it.
No, I don't
Sure.
know that we could, because there's a definite conflict of
Yeah.
interest.
It's a direct. I mean, we
It's not potential, it's actual.
yeah. It's not potential. I have a conflict because I have
Okay.
to buy that. But it's. I just had that. I just wanted to pose that question.
Okay. Let's go on to the next item, resolution 5-18-16B. Resolution adopting an Oregon ethics law policy.
This is a policy that the special districts insurance best practices is wanting us to adopt for this year's one of 5 discounts on our liability insurance. And what Stephen elected to do here is just adopt the ORS Chapter 244 in its present form, which is attached on Exhibit A, and as it may be from time to time amended. as the Port of Siuslaw's ethics policy.
Any more discussion?
Is this the first, do we have to have 2 readings or just one?
Just one?
One reading.
What does this do to differ from what we've done before?
We don't have an ethics
There's
policy.
been no,
Correct.
You mean we have to be ethical?
Yes, you do.
I don't
Okay.
necessarily always believe that we should, I mean, I don't have a problem with the policy, but I'm not sure that I like anything in the books that's in a policy that says, regardless of what they change, we're gonna adopt it. This leads me to believe that we don't have to ever look at this again. We just said, whatever you guys do, we'll do it. And I'm not comfortable with that. I don't have a problem, or I don't mind adopting this policy, but not saying anything they may change in the future to
And
that
this is-
particular statute.
SDAO,
Any of them, it doesn't matter, yes, I mean, no, it's a statute is what it is. It doesn't, I don't want to agree to a statutorial change as our policy in the future. Right now, I don't have a problem with this being our policy. But I'm not willing to vote for a rubber stamp that whenever the legislature decides to change something, whether it applies to us or not, or whether we should have the opportunity to agree or disagree, whether or not it's something that we want to
Yes.
adopt. The first one's okay, but this is the way it's written, and as it may be from time to time amended, as its as its ethics policy. And I just am not comfortable with. I'm not comfortable with that. So I can't support that, but I can support the resolution with everything but that.
Would you like to make a motion that we adopt this resolution with those words excluded?
Well, if we're done.
I have no problem.
Is
with
Stephen the
it.
one that wrote this up? then?
Yes.
Well, maybe we could wait for another date to vote on it where he's here to kind of explain it a little bit better to us.
Okay. If
Yeah, you
you'd like
can.
to, we
That's
could
fine.
table this to the June meeting if you'd like.
But I'm not comfortable with the legislators changing the statute,
Mhm. Without
and
notifying
I'm
us.
not, and it's not, and I don't know what's going on. I'm not comfortable with that.
This is a feel-good resolution anyway.
I know it is, but it's
It just
what
makes,
SDA.
just makes someone feel good. It doesn't hold us to anything.
Yeah.
It appears that special districts would like us under this, under the best practices program to adopt that, or this particular policy.
Mhm.
However, I don't, yeah, I mean, maybe they want us to adopt it, and as it may be from time to time amended. It just it gets pushed it just
Yeah.
gets put in the book and it's done. We don't come back to it, regardless of what they change. They might change it 3 times and we don't even know it.
Pretty straightforward ethics.
Yeah, I don't have a problem, I mean, I don't have a problem with that. I just,
So what is the will of the board?
I think we should table it till Stephen's here.
Okay?
What's your opinion, Mike? You think we'll table it?
I'm not gonna vote for it with it in, whether we table it or not. That's how I feel. I like the policy as it stands today. But if they change it next week, I want to be able to vote on whether or not I like it. I'm sorry, I realize it's ethics and that's very important and I wanna maintain this high ethical
It's a
standard.
dictatorship.
But I wanna know what's going on. That's why we do these policies. When it changes, I wanna be able to raise my hand and say, yes, I approve of that change. No, I like the old policy better, or whatever the case may be. So it doesn't matter. That's, you can table it, that's fine. But there isn't anything Stephen's gonna tell me about that sentence that's gonna change my mind.
The sentence being, therefore, be it resolved, the Port of Siuslaw.
And as it may
May
be from time to time amended as its ethics policy. This is fine as our ethics policy. And when they change it, point the changes out, and we'll decide whether we approve them or not.
Okay.
So you could make the motion to adopt this resolution with,
That
That-
I
change.
could,
and
and
as it may be from time to time amended, excluded.
if it's appropriate now, then that's the motion that I make.
Okay. Do we have a second?
I would second that.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Passed. With the change. What's next? Anything? Must be a,
All right, resolution 51816C is just another resolution to declare two more surplus items.
okay,
One of them being the 2002 Nissan Altima, our port vehicle. And number two, the SS Bean, which is an artistic boat structure that was purchased a couple years ago from our previous port manager, that is similar to a playhouse, if you will. And it was, the intention was for it to be used for nautical appearance and possibly put on a trailer to be in the roadie parade as a float. But it has been in our campground as a play structure, and we have liability concerns with, it's kind of a rough little structure, and the staff did go in and tried to get rid of all any of the little points and sharp edges, and an artist came in and did a very nice job painting it. But again, that was 2 years ago. The paint is starting to deteriorate. We just want to find it a new home.
We bought this, you said?
Yes,
Out of curiosity,
$400, and probably about $500 was put into it for painting and.
well, I move we approve resolution 518C. Or 51816C.
I would second that.
we have a second from David. Any other discussion?
I'd just like to ask, the 2002 Nissan Altima, we don't use that?
We used it tonight to drive up to
That's
this
how we got
meeting,
here.
but I could count on 5 hands how many times it's been used as a port vehicle to go to conferences, or, 5 times a year, maybe we use it. But
What other vehicles do we own?
we own the Chevy, 92 Chevy pickup, a 2004 Ford F-150. Those are our 2 maintenance vehicles. And those get used a lot, but this car sits in the back parking lot most of the time, and
And
it
she
just
said that
sits there.
Jason put a quart and a half of oil in it today?
2.5 quarts of oil.
2.5 quarts of oil. It's time.
It's a good little vehicle that could do somebody a lot of good than sitting behind our building
Yeah,
doing
yeah.
nothing.
That's only, I've never seen the car
Yeah.
that I can recollect.
We can show it to you tonight.
No,
We can let you ride in it.
You guys better talk
Yeah.
kindly, it's gotta get you home.
Hearing no more discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passed.
All right, this next resolution, 51816D, is before you because we are in an election year, and the port has been approached by certain political parties to set up tables out on the boardwalk and use port property for distribution of political literature. And the port manager felt it important to have some kind of guidelines that go along with these types of activities. So he typed up these 8 bullet points of pretty much just people coming in to have to submit a facilities use permit, so we know who's going to be out there and at what time. And any public gatherings must comply with City of Florence code and noise regulations.
And this makes it so that no papers will be left on automobile windshields, which I feel is a good idea.
Right.
Say that, I'm sorry, Nancy, I was reading. Say that.
No,
Flyers.
materials, flyers,
Oh.
just left on windshields.
On vehicles.
If you
Yeah.
hand
Yeah.
them to a person, they accept it, that's one thing, but
So, what is a leaflet as opposed to literature?
So that's the kind of thing that's left on the windshield.
I don't know what the difference would be.
Well, the reason I'm asking is because in no event may leaflets of any kind be distributed in the parking lots or in the RV campground directly. And then it makes reference to the vehicle, and I fully agree with that. But any person or organization which wishes to distribute literature on port property must obtain or use a permit. So what's the difference?
Perhaps it would be not knocking on the campers' doors and handing them something.
Okay.
I'm not sure, but
Yeah, because that last sentence is a little unclear to me when it says no leaflets of any kind will be, or of any kind may be distributed in the parking lots or RV
But could they
parks.
distribute literature and leave it in the windshield?
But a leaflet could also be defined as literature.
Yes, I think they're one and the same.
well, and if a person is getting a permit to put a table up,
Uh-huh.
people are walking to you or, you know, interacting, you're not going and knocking on their
Well, the
doors.
port has an area to leave leaflets where you can pick them up, isn't there?
We have an informational
Yeah.
kiosk where we
Yeah.
have brochures.
Which is,
Where's that at?
That's right next to the campground office.
Well, this isn't
Just
going.
on the right.
yeah,
It's not that this is going to affect me, but to be honest with you, it's pretty confusing. I mean, I understand where he's headed, but it is a little confusing. I mean, maybe it should specifically one bullet should be nothing will be left on windshields. Period. Of any sort, nothing will be left on windshields.
Right,
It
you
doesn't
got-
say you have.
I got to stop you and say, well, this is literature, it's not a leaflet.
Yeah, you see, it doesn't say that you have to have a table at all. It just says any person or organization which wishes to distribute literature on
Yeah.
port property must obtain a permit. That's cool. We should do that. And it tells you when you can distribute literature, et cetera, et cetera. But at the bottom it says, in no event may leaflets. You know, a leaflet could be this what you're holding in your hand right
Yeah.
there, but that could also be the literature that I'm distributing or that
Yeah.
I would like to distribute. So maybe that should just be changed. No literature of any kind will be distributed to, or left on
yeah,
any vehicles
yeah. And get rid
or,
of the word lit.
Well, he's got in the parking
Oh, yeah, it
lots
says not
or in
distributed.
the campground.
right? But
No,
that's a big part of the port property. So we
Yeah.
have two parking lots. Where are they going to distribute? We better say where they can distribute the literature then,
yeah,
because
No,
if they
but
can't do it in the parking lot,
I agree.
I mean, it feels just a little bit ambiguous there. It's not going to bother me because I'm not going to be the one at the office
Tell
this
you,
time of the year.
I think you change the word to literature, you solve the problem.
Yes.
Yes.
May any material of any kind be distributed in the parking lots
No, and it may.
or left on
may
vehicles.
But we have to be
Yeah.
sure that we don't want them. I mean, we have to be. We're okay. So then, where would they distribute it? Where are we saying they can distribute?
We're not gonna let them unless
Well,
they have a permit.
No. Right. But if they have the permit, they can distribute anywhere. Is that correct?
No, we're going
I-
to tell them a location for the distribution of literature in the public gatherings.
Okay. Then we're
The
gonna
use
have to-
permit must
okay.
contain a specific day, time, and location for the distribution. Bullet number 3.
And I would think that would either be a table or somebody standing there to hand out something and not, I mean, for people to walk up to you rather than you walking through the whole place just handing your stuff out or leaving it on windshields, which I would really object to.
Yeah, I don't like the windshield either, but I don't have a problem with them walking the boardwalk. Why wouldn't they be able to? As for example, what if what's that dude's name? Bernie Sanders was to come here in 3 weeks, or after we do this. Is he going to be able to walk and his people walk the boardwalk or over by the the boat basin? Can he walk through there and hand out some of his literature or his leaflets?
No, but Trump could.
Well, I'm okay. All right, that's
Trump would buy it.
well, as long as he makes a big donation, right?
Yeah.
Okay, but the point, I guess, maybe this one we should table and just have him
Yeah.
think of
Just
maybe
tinker with the words
just a little bit with the wording, because like I said, they're not coming to me to complain about that. They're going to Dina, to Stephen, and to our office staff. And this is the intent behind this would be to prevent them from having to deal with all this. This
Right.
is crystal clear. It's a great start. It's just, I think maybe a little clearer.
Would we be allowed to collect a deposit?
On the leaflets?
No, I mean, if,
The use.
on the use,
Yes.
if we collected a $250 deposit and we
Well,
found
you
your
wouldn't have
leaflets,
You're not gonna have anybody giving leaflets out of $250 for $250. But you know what? Has that really been a problem? I mean, I've had leaflets put on my pickup down there before, but I mean, has it really been a problem?
It hasn't been a problem, but as we get closer to the election,
Yeah,
we may
yeah.
have things coming up.
Well, they've been throwing chairs in Nevada, so you never know what they'll do here.
Yeah, and we've got clear to November to deal with this.
We have had some Democrats come and ask for permission to be out on the boardwalk.
well, they're troublemakers.
Well, at least they asked permission. Okay,
But that's what kind of got this thing.
yeah, I understand. That, I mean, that makes sense. I mean, it's a great start. I think that maybe if it
So
was
maybe
just
just
a
the
little
wording.
stronger, the word just a little clearer would be fine.
So table 51816D.
Okay. Next.
The next
Come
is
back
just
here
for
and see where we're at.
information, these letters.
Commissioner reports.
Number 10 is commissioners' reports.
I got a question.
Oh, okay.
Going back to this 518, it says the port shall err on the side of inclusion.
Inclusion, it says?
Yeah, I don't understand that.
Where do you see that?
Yeah, I'm not gonna,
The bottom
Oh,
of 7.
no.
I'm not gonna,
seven.
I'm not gonna, I don't know.
I mean, I just don't understand what,
I guess we'll find that out.
Okay.
Yeah, Dina, you'll ask him that, won't you?
I sure will.
When he's not sick.
Item number 10, commissioner reports. I went to the urban renewal meeting, and while I was at the meeting, I learned that the city is planning a park on the property that we own down there by the sewer plant. It's all written up, but they have not approached us to buy the property, so. But I guess maybe someday they'll approach us and wanna buy it.
So they're planning, on that property that they have plans for a
Yeah,
park?
yeah, they've got a name for it and everything, and,
Really?
yeah.
oh,
I already have a name for the park that they don't own?
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
I
that's
forget what it's
interesting.
called, Riverside, I think, or something
Wow.
like that. And yet they have not really talked to us about
Yeah, at all.
making any sort of an offer, but what the heck. I think that's about all I have. I did go to some other meetings, but I don't remember now. Nancy will have her list, she'll tell you. You got something, Nancy?
I have.
Okay,
Terry, anything? Okay, we met with Corps of Engineers in the office. You were
Yeah,
there
I was
too
there,
with
yeah.
that one. They were explaining some of the financing and the deal with the jetty and on the 29th, we were all at a training at the port for ethics, and this was at the fire station. May 2nd and May 16th were city council meetings, and I find them most informative because a lot of the things that they are doing are things that are for economic development, which is things that we are trying to also do to find ways to get more money for the port, to better opportunities, and I helped with the school bond measure because I feel that Florence any district needs to support children and put them first in what we're doing, and I feel sad that that bond measure went down. May 11th, I went to the Lane Act, ACT in Springfield, and they had the Siuslaw Estuary Trail, the second section, and there was a extended discussion about that, which leaves me with more questions than there were answers that day. And that's it.
Any comments, Michael?
I was just wondering if the Corps, did they talk about the dredge, about dredging the mouth this summer?
Yes,
Is
that
it-
was
is
the
there a
purpose,
specific-
really.
Is there a specific schedule, a
They're
reasonable
looking
time
at
period?
July.
In
Late-
July?
late June,
Yeah.
early July.
We asked
And
them
it's a
to be-
weather type
Okay.
thing, and
We
So
asked
that's-
them to come early so
They
they
were
don't
in-
bother
They
the
were in
fishermen.
Coos Bay on Monday, they're
Oh, were
dredging
they?
down there right now.
Okay, so that's a for sure thing then?
Yeah.
Okay. You know, sometime back when we were talking about, there was a report that was given to us, a written report, and it said, it was talking about doing some work out here on our jetties, and that there was money put, and maybe it was one of the organizations we're affiliated with, when they were talking about doing some studies.
Yes,
Some studies on our jetty,
On our jetty.
on our port.
yes.
What can do, what?
Several years ago, not several, five or 6 years ago, I
No.
believe the Corps did a full study on the Siuslaw River jetties, and there it sits. They went into a lot of detail on analysis, but
Yeah, they did mapping and everything. And I think
It's a
even
binder
the
like this
last
thick.
couple of years,
See, 'cause
they've
I
had
thought
a
it was-
survey vote
I
out
thought
there.
it was the last couple of years that something else
Yeah,
had been
survey
done.
vote out
But
there.
it's just sitting there, we don't,
well,
okay.
the way I left that meeting from information there was that there just simply is not going to be money to repair or do any more on our jetty because of the
Lack of money.
trying to keep the river open. I mean, they can do that and do that and do that, and it just is not going to keep that river open. And there is so little money and so many ports that need more than ours, because the money is going to the ports that have the commerce and the immediate need. We aren't going to get that kind of commerce into our port, no matter what we do, because we were timber, which isn't there or probably won't be there again. It was enlightening, but not encouraging, because they will do what they can to help us keep it safe for fishermen and that kind of thing. But that's about, from my perception, that's about all that we can see or even ask for. We can keep asking.
Yeah, I realize that we're not gonna probably have the timber commerce. And it wasn't so much timber as it was lumber. We don't even have a lumber mill anymore, on the
True.
peninsula.
Yeah.
That's where most of it was shipped out, barged out, was lumber. But we used to have a far better fishing fleet than we have now. Far better. Back when we had a fish buyer, and back when we had ice, and back when we were supporting that. So, but what they just suggested though did they suggest that they're going to continue to help keep it open?
Oh, yes.
Yes,
They're just not
that,
going.
yes, for
They're not
safety.
anticipating $122 million worth of jetty extensions or jetty repair.
Correct, because for safety, they would do that. And as far as the fish and other things that have been projected, it's going to be very difficult because of the heat in the ocean driving whatever is happening with our fish. That it's going to be very difficult until everything changes because of that rising temperature all the way up almost clear to Alaska for the heat in the ocean.
Well, and I understand that. I realize that. But that shouldn't preclude us from continuing to help find a way to support whatever is available. Because everybody, where's everything going? To Newport?
Where there's traffic and there's
Yeah.
commerce, we'll never have the traffic or the commerce again until the jetty is fixed.
And we can't, it's kind of a double-edged sword, because we can't get the jetty fixed till we have increased boat traffic.
Yeah.
They aren't gonna come and fix our jetty and say, oh, there you go, maybe boats will use it. We need
Right,
to have the boat traffic here now, and then they'll say, we better fix this, since there's gonna be more accidents.
So we're not gonna get the boat traffic unless there's something here a reason for them to come in.
Well, there would be a reason, and the ice machine was a good reason.
except that didn't pencil out.
Pencil out for who?
Well, for the port to provide it,
Yes.
there aren't enough fishermen to keep it
They-
open and viable and used.
Okay, when, during tuna season, and Dave will know this, our boat has to leave here, we have to drive to Newport to get ice.
Right.
And we gotta call 3 to 5 days ahead of time to schedule an appointment. Because ice plants only make so much ice in a period of 24 hours. So we'll call up there, okay, you can be here at 9 o'clock Friday morning. If you're a half hour late on 9 o'clock, your appointment goes to the next person. So my point is, you gotta get in that rotation of boats wanting ice. You look at the boats sitting in our port, there isn't 2 boats there, maybe 3 that are gonna use ice. Yeah, you can't support it there, but look at Coos Bay, look at Newport, look at Astoria, there's hundreds of boats that would come in here to get ice if we had it available. It was hindsight, I think, on their part, and they said, there's not enough commerce here to.
But our bar is closed more often than the others, and that's a factor that they can't get
It
in
is
and
a
out.
factor, but it's not closed to most commercial fishermen.
There's a phenomenon of the spring equinox that the oceans lay down, and Dave, you can help me more on this. Our bar is pretty much going to be open on a high tide, on a flood tide, 6 out of 8 times, 6 out of 10 times right now
Yeah, for the bigger commercial
Okay.
vessels.
for the bigger vessels.
Yeah, the ones that get hurt are the recreational fishermen.
Yeah.
They're the ones that can't
And-
get out a lot of the time.
Well, look at the Port of Charleston though.
Sure.
They
No,
have what,
that's
4
true.
boats go down, crab boats go down this winter.
No, you're
3 or
right.
4 people
You're right.
killed.
Yeah, but our bar is open from anytime in May 15th on, and we'll come in and out of here. Alpazar will come in and out of here. And other boats would come in and buy ice. When you have to stand in line up there in Newport, and literally you have to stand in line. You tie
Okay.
up to the dock and wait for them to fill up. I'm sorry, it's tomorrow morning. Okay, we'll be here tomorrow morning.
Then I would like to see a proposal or something that would say, okay, if we back up ice machine, the cost, because, you know, the port cannot afford to put up the money and have it sit there. It's got to be something that would, we get a return
It's
back
just like
out
any-
of
You
it.
have
it's
to
just-
staff it.
You have
It's
to
like
build
any,
it.
it's like any business venture, you know, there's nothing wrong with us at this point going back and reevaluating different options in terms of what type, what size, various. I think it's a good time to go back and at least explore the option of an ice machine. Because, you know, if we have it, maybe they will come.
If you don't have a ball field, they won't come to watch a ball game.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, you gotta build it. And there's a lot of.
No, I,
Well,
I agree,
then-
I agree, but maybe it is time to go back and
To find
reevaluate.
out what it would cost, because we have such restraints on our money. There's a lot of
Sure,
things we can't do because we can't match the grants, so we haven't applied for
That's true.
grants.
But one of our primary purposes is economic development.
Yeah.
I mean, what
That's-
better way it would be nice to explore that again and
Right,
see
I
what the
agree.
possibilities are of bringing additional boats into our port.
Is it something that we could afford only in the season? I mean, when an ice machine is out, you just shut it off and it's okay?
Yeah, I think you probably only use it for the summer fishery.
4 months out of the season. The
Is this-
salmon fishermen would use it, the charter fishermen would use it,
Yeah.
wouldn't they, Dave?
Yeah.
Crabbers?
Is-
How many? Crabbers
crab.
crabbers don't really buy ice, other than when you sell the crab, you have to
Then
buy
you do,
ice.
then you have it. But if there was a cost analysis on that, the
So you won't get
probability,
you won't get a buyer here without ice either.
No, and that's
You
right,
know,
that's.
I mean, we have to have an ice machine in place because we're not going to convince a buyer to come here without ice. They're not
Yeah.
going to ship it from
They
north
aren't
or
gonna
south.
bring ice in here and
No.
try to take crab or something else out of here.
and what are the options for sizes of an ice machine?
That's what we're gonna have to look
Yeah,
at.
That's,
Yeah.
See, I think that there may have been some restriction. I wasn't involved in the last
I
go
wasn't
around,
either.
but
we weren't either.
it's time,
It
I
was-
think, to maybe reevaluate the possibility of
I think that's a good
what
idea.
it could, you know, what
Because
could
we do have a good commercial, or I mean, not commercial, but the recreational fish.
Yeah, we do.
a good
I
season
think
for
at
that.
this time I would like to close the meeting.
Can I bring up one more point
Yes,
before you
you
close?
certainly may.
Couldn't we take someone on the staff, and Dina, you can help me with this? There's government agencies out there that may have a surplus ice machine.
Yes.
Sure.
And a lot of times those surplus things are free to us. I know in the past the port bought several cranes, large wheeled cranes. They buy them for nothing. Wilbur Turnick will sit and tell you the stories. Well, I bought one of them for 10 grand that the port surplused out. They got it for nothing, had to keep it 3 years, then they surplused it out to me for 10 grand to their pocket. That's another thing we should probably look at. There's a lot of stuff out there available to us, you know, that,
We just
Different
don't, and it
state-
could be across the nation too.
yeah, it's not
You know.
just Oregon, it's any federal.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I really think that we should come back at it. I mean, it doesn't cost us anything to start digging and start looking
Right.
and start prepping and start thinking and.
So is this a suggestion from the board directed to staff to
Yes, let's do that.
start looking into
For that
and,
ice
and
machine.
provide the board with a preliminary report at the next meeting, or maybe not that
Well, just-
soon, or just start putting it on our list of things to look into?
I think that, I think I'd like to, 2 sentences. We're still looking in it. We got some leads. We're against a brick wall. We've run up against a wall, but we're going another direction. Anything, just kind of let us know that it's still going.
I'll research it a little on my own too.
I will take that information back to the port manager.
Okay, anything else? We're gonna adjourn the meeting at whatever time it is. Got to be 6:17. Thank you for making the trip up to Blatchley.